that does it.
I'm just going to be seated.
That's what Harry Walton used to do.
I'll take your word for
That's because my wife, she couldn't come this evening, so she wanted to see what my presentation was going to be like. If she can hear it.
And Uber delivery. Let's go. There's this whole thing about it's a bit different if you haven't got a crasher on it. They are actually knocking you through the floor. Yeah, I'll take it.
So good evening everyone, thanks for coming along, and I'm going to hand over to Jerry shortly. Hello. So thanks to everyone for coming along. I'm going to hand over to Jerry shortly. I just want to let everybody know, for those who are interested, we're very pleased to say Janet came home from hospital this evening.
Good news.
So she's, very pleased for her. She's looking a bit pale and a bit frail, but I'm sure she'll be back to full strength and hopefully up and riding quite soon. And then one last thing before I hand over to Jerry is you might be aware that I'm not doing the Off-Bike Social role anymore.
No.
And this is the last one that I've organised. So we don't normally do a club night in June because it's the French trip, but after that there is nothing. And I'm pre-warning you now. So if anybody is of a mind to step up and take on organising club nights, feel free to think about it and maybe put your hand up. But after this, right, there's nothing. And the way things are going, there won't be a Christmas party either. So we really need people to sort of step up. You know, I mean, I know I did like quite a bit of things, but the role can be very easily broken up into lots of little pieces. If somebody wants to do just the Christmas party and somebody just does club nights, that really is all that you do. And there's not that many club nights in a year. I think there's only 9 because we don't have one every single month. We don't do one in June because of the French trip. We don't do one in August because there's usually some sort of summer event going on, a barbecue or something like that. And then obviously Christmas is Christmas. So that leaves the other 9 months. And it's very, very quick and easy to organise, I promise. So please, if anybody's of a mind, or you know somebody who you think might be really good at it, you know, maybe you can talk them into it.
Yes,
Okay.
Louise.
Sorry, was that you putting your hand up there, Linda? Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Jerry now. I don't have to introduce him. I think everybody knows who Jerry is. He did a fantastically exciting ride. If you follow Jerry on social media, you'll see that he did quite a challenging and amazing ride through India earlier this year. It was this year, wasn't it? Mud, rain, and everything else that God chose to throw down upon you.
It did.
So, Jerry, please, I'm going to hand over to you.
Well, I'll say thank you, Louise, for all the efforts you put in for the club doing social events. Thank you. And I'm impressed with the number of people that are here this evening. I hope you can hear me because my voice isn't as strong as it used to be. So I'll do my best, and we might have to listen in a microphone if it doesn't carry very far. But right, Jerry's travelled. Travelled with Jerry. Well, it was. So I just picked that title because there have been lots of travels with lots of different people, and some of whom I've met, which is interesting. But you basically want to know what's. I hope it works. Or have I got sticky keys again? Oh, it's. Hang them up. I think we're not in. I'm supposed to go. Try that one.
Well, it should just, well, go there. Yeah, that should work, but it should now work if you hit the, yeah.
Yes, it does. Go back.
So hit the
Well,
arrow,
okay.
yeah.
Well, with the family, I've been over most of India. I haven't done some bits, but there's a map coming up shortly, and I can show you where these places are: Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Ladakh. If you've looked at the magazine at the beginning of the year, it's had the trip I did to Ladakh, which is some of the highest peaks in or passes in India. So we'll have a look and see where those are. Okay. Right. Now I've had that for 20 years now.
Finally.
Finally, I've got to use it. Okay. You have to press the right button.
Battery's out.
Pointing with the right end, Jerry. There we go.
Oh, I've got the light. It's supposed to have a laser.
Other end.
Somebody give him a stick.
Technology fails me time and time again. Right, Assam. Right, I don't know whether you can see, it's up there. But Arunachal Pradesh is the one above it. Ladakh is equally high, but up at the top there, next to Pakistan. In fact, it's up. You can just see it's straight up from New Delhi. Perhaps now. No, it was really give up. So, they're both very remote places, and if you think that those are the two bits I'm talking about, but I've been down to Chennai, which is down here. Actually, to the Enfield factory, which is nice to see. I was talking to them in 2015, so I told us, they asked me what is selling in Europe, and I said adventure bikes. I said, but it's got to be an adventure bike. You can hold it flat out from one side of Europe to the other. That's what you have to build to sell in Europe. So they came up with the Himalayan, which was kind of like halfway there, and the modern Himalayan is a little bit better. And this time, going through Assam and into Arunachal, I was on a Husqvarna. It was a Smart Pillion, which was 250cc single, 36 brake horsepower on tap at 9,000 RPM. Going up the mountains didn't go too well. Not because you couldn't get any revs up, and you'll see why. But it did work remarkably well. Performance was like at low speed a PSA C15. So it gives you some power there, but wouldn't pull your hat off. When you've got it cracking up to 9,000 RPM, you could get 80 odd miles an hour out of it. So it wasn't that slow for a 250. Anyway, we'll move on. Okay. The only time we get music tonight.
All that is out there for me to find. Let me go passing by. Let me go come back in time. Let me be who I am. All to this time. Let me.
Right, that's enough of that one. Right. The guy taking the photographs is Jugal Bailon, and I've written an article and sent it off to Gavin for publication. A short day trip to Arunachal through Assam. It was only a day. They wouldn't let me into Arunachal. I didn't have the appropriate documents. I needed a special permit to go high into the mountains next to the army bases. I had the same problem going to Ladakh, where they did have a problem because Leh is in Ladakh is the main centre and the big army place that basically controls the whole of Ladakh. You don't realise how controlling they are. This one's quite a fast one. That's, I must admit, I giggled a lot when I heard the name of the sparks building. And this should remind you of Ladakh and my escapades there. You can analyse the styles of riding. He landed up from front to back, he's confident and no confidence. So, as you can see, it's quite high in Ladakh. Nice bit of snow on the mountains. Right, so, my observations about culture, religion and perception. Well, the culture is, I'm going to have to read some of the bits, but they're actually quite a self-centered culture. You know, for your own benefit. The religions seem to be for your own benefit. They're centered around possessions. Family is there, but possessions seem to rate higher than everything else. There's a lacking of social conscience. They don't actually think about anybody else. So it comes to I was in there in 2015 where they had an immensely cold winter in Delhi, and they wanted to raise 10,000 blankets. Now you've got to think of it as a population of 90 million. If it was the UK, 10,000 blankets would have done in minutes. They didn't even reach the target of doing 10,000 blankets by March of 2015, and they had the problem from the middle of November. So look at who makes the donations in any society, and they're singularly lacking in generosity. Also, I heard this on the radio. Like, it's one of those few places where you can piss in public, but you can't kiss in public. It's amazing what restrictions they have in their society. Also, on the same radio program, everyone's rushing to get everywhere, to be ahead of you. There, but everything is late, not on time. It's interesting, and some of that is with the religion. You have the Hindu and Muslims. I won't dwell on it. It could be sensitive. I'm not going to say much about it, but the religions do not show the same sort of generosity to people that Christian religions do, and it's very self-centered. Okay, so I've touched on the religion. Perception. Now that's the. I will get it. It was working. Oh, excuse me. Perception. Right. What I mean is perception. Well, if you're walking about the place, right, people are looking where they're going. Right. They won't necessarily push you out of the way, but they don't give you a lot of room to get by you. And that's walking or cycling. So you've got perception. So their focus is what they can see. It's what I call a village mentality, where you do the same thing every day. There's nobody else doing doing anything like that. So you walk along with impunity across the road, you know, round the corner, and think that nobody else is going to be there, which is, their driving is much like that. They don't look. So you have to be aware that if you're at junctions, you don't see eye contact. Well, keep looking straight ahead to avoid it. So the perception sounds like, well, not good, but they do have this saving grace, is that everyone else, including cars, are going along at walking pace. So you've got time to think and avoid your little disasters, as it were. But, I've had some interesting experiences. They have dual carriageways there. Right, now you'll find things coming up the wrong way on a dual carriage. Why waste that bit of tarmac? Yeah. But predominantly it's because there's a village or buildings on the side, and that's the shortest route through to their dwellings. So they do that. There might be a lorry, a bicycle. You know, I've been bombing up this road, this dual carriageway, and this cyclist saw me coming, because I did see him actually look, right? And he obviously thought, he's so far away, he's not going to get here in time. And by the time he'd gone about 20 feet, because I was cracking on it, so I was told 130 kilometres an hour, because the guy who was following me couldn't get by me. Interesting. You can go that fast, but I wouldn't recommend it very often. So predominantly the driving and riding is slow, which is why 20 kilometres will actually take you the best part of an hour, because nothing goes more than 40 to 50 kilometres an hour. The lorries are regulated to 40 kilometres an hour. So if you're on a main road, that's all you'll be doing, whether you like it or not. It's 40 kilometres an hour. So bearing that in mind, there's distances take a long time. So let's have a move on. Right, people. I've touched on that a little bit. We met a procession in one of the villages. It was one holy day, and you see the people just sort of everywhere, walking in the road, doing what they want. That is normal. You'll get that anywhere. If you went through Delhi, exactly the same. Even across a sort of multi-lane road, you'll get people walking like that. You don't actually believe they could be as daft and want to risk their lives, but certainly in the village, they really are village people. So this is actually taken off an island in the middle of the Brahmaputra. Okay, livestock, you like that? What I found is that in Arunachal, the cattle wouldn't stay in the field. It was so wet, they actually slept in the road as a herd. Only half the road, they wouldn't take it all out. There'd be some room to get your car by or a bike by. But it seemed to me that the animals had much more sense about what you should do on a road. Oh, that one. Right, road conditions. No, it's not. It's supposed to play a video. Another failure of technology. Okay, the point I'm getting to is you can see it's light. Well, basically it's rubble. There's no tarmac there. So what you've got is a very good, very rough, unmade road. Yeah, so a couple hundred metres down the road, it's gone to tarmac, lovely and smooth. So you get that change, those changes in surfaces all the time. I can show you a nice thing at the end where you just going through mud and such, and then you're on beautiful tarmac, which is what the whole road should have been like through to Pachuca. Okay, I mentioned dual carriageway, gone, moped, you can see a truck now took to parked on the side of the road, a few bits and pieces. You couldn't go fast because you didn't know what was going to pop out the woodwork. Next one, cars, less room. Yeah.
It's only one junction though, Jerry, that's fine, isn't it?
Well, if you look behind it, there's another, the car's on the proper side of the road. Oh well, I survived it. Okay, traffic, hopefully this one works. This was a little, one of the main streets in Delhi. And what I can honestly say is, it looks frightening, but it's not so bad when you're in it. Yeah. If you stood at the side of the road and watch cars come by, you think, at 50 miles an hour, and it feels like a horrendously fast. But when you're actually in a car doing 50, it doesn't feel like that. And it's much the same. Look for the road conditions as you go around the corner. You think it's a nice paved road. And the trade stands so close to the road.
Better than Surrey. Only just.
That's right. So, rural. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to get a video of that. But in rural areas, there are no petrol stations. You get your fuel in a bottle at the side of the road. And they're very frequent. You can always get some fuel. But it's a bit off-putting if you're checking in stuff that's something you think it isn't the best quality. It will be the cheapest. Okay, and if you're out in the sticks, that's it's more like a jungle. And Assam is of that latitude whereby you can have lots of jungle. In fact, most of the, even in Arun Ashel, although it's 2,000, 3,000 meters, it is it still has banana trees growing. Yeah, and snow on the tops of the mountains, crazy. Okay, where do we go? Hope you can see it. But now this is where I should have the point. Is there that? Okay. Summer. This is. Can you see Assam? You can see Arun Ashel on there. Assam. But Dibrugarh is around here. And that's where my nephew lives. So I had the opportunity. So you can see, just have a picture in your mind that the fact is close to the Chinese border, which means we needed those permits to actually go there. In fact, even then we weren't allowed to see some things. Because I've got a little video I'll play at the end. It's a summation of the trip. It's an advert for the trip over 6 days, which I feel like I was a bit of a guinea pig because I knew nothing about the trip other than I would be riding for a couple of 100 kilometres. And I thought, a couple of 100 kilometres, brilliant sunshine, and the first little video was there. Yeah, great, no problems, yeah. But they didn't tell me. It's probably a good thing because I wouldn't have done it otherwise. Okay, so the route. You can see the little red lines here. That's about the position of my nephew's house. But that little place is a resort called, what is it? I've forgotten his name now. No, you won't know, but anyway, it's a nice place to have a cup of tea. Also some very nice food. Because an old friend runs it. he set up the resort to generate work for the locals. So he set the resort up so he can employ loads of locals doing the bars and everything else, and the cleaning the accommodation and that. And he used to be a surveyor for Oil India, so we'd go all over the world doing bits and pieces. Clever chap. So anyway, that is about 2 hours from there, and we stopped there. And I said the name of the resort is Bogeyville. Sounds a funny name, but that's what they called it. So that was about a 2 hours ride. So yeah, up to underline Alu, where we stayed the first night, was 4 hours riding. Well, would have been. Adding up with the fact that we did have some stops on the way, maybe because I was getting tired, and it ended up with, we started here at 8 o'clock in the morning and got up there at about 5 o'clock in the evening. We got in before it started getting dark, so that's only 274 kilometres, so you can work out how long it is. Not a long time, 8 hours more for doing that. We did have breaks and a lot more, but it was hard work. Yeah, it's nice having I must admit, I'm appreciating only being riding a 250. It didn't have a lot of power, but it was very handleable. I had Giza on the back for most of that journey until she said, "It's getting too rough. I'm getting a sore ass, I've got to stop." So I sort of go in the car, which is something that I paid for. We hired the car through my nephew because he knows everyone there, and it took all our gear with us, because the last thing you want to be doing is carrying all your gear. And if you've seen some of go through the conditions we went through, you'll have an idea that you don't want to have a bike loaded up. You don't want to have a passenger on the back. Yeah, you want a light machine, something you can hold when the environment takes charge of you. So that's where we're going. And of course, being a nice day, it was delightfully sunny until the day before, and this was a good example. I've got a video of this. This is just a screenshot from off of that video because I couldn't play it. If you want the technical bit, it was fine as a 32-bit, but because the presentation software wants it 64-bit, it wouldn't play it. But it will play on the computer, but not on the presentation. No, because there were some nice videos. Next one, just to show how friendly the traffic is. The camera did appear at we started to go and have a walk about. They had hit too many bumps. That's Giza with the gear on, just to prove she was on the back. That was we had just entered into Arunachal. We'd gone through a police border and we had to produce a passport, this permit we got just a few days before. It was organised for us, and we finally got through that. Thought, right, 1 o'clock, I need to eat. So we stopped, and at the first restaurant, that was a very nice place. Right, gang outside. There was a nice entourage, so it was a good sign, guys. It was quite a good team to have hanging around you. Right, that's where we stayed in Alo. It was actually the Rui homestay. And when we got there, of course, we've been riding in the rain all day and soaking wet. They haven't got any heating in the rooms. They don't think they need it just for a couple of months of the year. They have inside the main hall an open fire, so they bring in a few few logs, throw them in a pit, lie them up, and eventually you get warm. So, but it was a nice place to stay, and you can see by the foliage, it's very, shall we say, jungle type. Okay, day 2. Now this is where it really did get muddy. Right, hello again. I've underlined Tato Village up there because that was a lunchtime stop. So we started at 6 o'clock in the morning from there, and that was about 1:30, Tato Village. And finally we got into Pachuca at about 5 o'clock in the evening. The sun did come out a few times, so we appreciated that, but it was, you know, if you look at the squiggles on the road, it is like that. And you go in, basically, you're going on a path that's been carved out of the rock face. So it was subject to landslides, and unfortunately we chose a bad time of the year to do it because rainy season. Also, they were doing roadworks, and what they do is blast chunks of the mountain out and have to shift it. And we were chasing our tails all the way through to Tato because we had warnings of road closures. And if they close the road, it's at least 2 hours where you're stuck. Now, I had definitely a requirement that I didn't want to ride in the dark. I found that I now have very good night vision. So if you imagine on sort of mud, lights that don't work, trying to struggle through deep mud, a disaster waiting to happen. Anyway, you've got an idea where we're going, and you can see some of the roads. Let's crack on. Okay. I hope this should play. There's a voiceover by Gita.
Did you have a good night's sleep? I think we
That big guy was the guy who picked me out of the mud. As he was riding down.
going up, it's okay. That place we stayed last night, beautiful.
As the video won't work, I've got the muckiest one I got on mud on, it was tarmac, and I was amazed at how much grip you've got with standard road tyres with that, a mud slush. That was what we termed as a Holly moment, because it was not, Holly was about 3 or 4 days later. So that was my colour moment. And that was one of my little forays into the mud. And again, raining all day. When I was, the organisers of the GTL homestay actually gave us an electric blanket, which was lovely. But there was a problem, you see. The electricity is in poor supply. So over the night they do it on generator. So during daytime you've got no electricity. So you want to charge stuff up, you got to do it at night time. And they also have no telephones because it was next to an army base again. There was limited mobile phone access and also limited internet access. They really do control the information going in and out, which is annoying. But so, probably the time is being so wet. Right, I had a very flimsy. This jacket was the one I wore, and it is not waterproof. So I bought that a cheap jacket for showers. I thought, oh, that'll be all right. We're not going to be going through very much water. And this was undoubtedly too light. So if you're thinking about gear to take, don't take a light one.
Jerry, what sort of temperature variations did you have?
Right. In daytime, about when it's raining, about 15 degrees, but the humidity is colossal. I was motorcycling and I had to ride with my visor up, otherwise I'd steam up. So nighttime temperature 6 or 7 degrees.
Were you riding with glasses as well?
No, I wear contact lenses when I ride because I find that having a double thing is just too much of a problem. I'm wearing them tonight because I couldn't be bothered to put them. And I was thinking I'd have some problems reading because now I sort of have to keep moving my glasses because they're only single focus. But I'm having fun. But this is the thing that was too light, so it just leaked. However, I did come up with a solution. Right. This is what I called my insurance. I actually put that underneath. Right, so those were, I had two of them. I lost one on that trip, and this was the spare one. But when I got to Pachuca, I decided I needed something a bit better. So it came up with this bit, and it's cheap poncho, and it works.
Do you know you can buy waterproof gear?
But try getting it in on top of a mountain. There were plenty of shops that were selling stuff, so they all came in plastic bags. So it's got a free plastic bag, and with the help of Gita, who has the car, it's such a lovely hole. It was, you know, but it did the job.
Who needs two of it, okay?
Yeah. The thing is that it was absolutely valuable because the zip busted on that trip, so I had to get a new zipper for it. It was one I'd replaced in Delhi with a thing. Oh, I'll get the jacket to last a bit longer. Haha. The zipper was so pitiful; it wasn't worth replacing it. The fact that one they took off was in better condition than one they gave me. One of those that'll do jobs, I think. But anyway, all that mud meant we needed a rest day. So it was a nice place to stay. That was breakfast. The following day, the sun had come out. I actually got sunburned in an hour. So take your suntan cream and stuff with you, because it does. The sun, because it's not very far north, so you have very strong sun. So, and also we spent the day cleaning stuff. The mud got into my zips and my gloves and the boots, and I just couldn't get it out. So if you're going somewhere where it's muddy, you need some adventure boots because they ain't got any zips. Put them on, strap them up, boom, away you go. But I had real problems. I didn't finally clean the zips up well enough for them to work properly until I got back to Boom and Barry, where we started off from, back to my nephew's where I could wash it and clean it properly. And the silt is so fine that you know, it's just sort of gets everywhere. So it gives you some idea. I did actually end up buying a completely new outfit from Lidl's. Yeah, waterproof pants a tenner, jacket 15 quid. No lining in it, but I didn't want a line. You know, I just wanted something that was waterproof. So I thought, keep an eye out for Lidl. We did have a little trip out that day when I managed to get my boots on. We went to a place called Darjeeling, which was, it's not Darjeeling, it's Dor. It's about 5 kilometres from Echuca. And it is a classical village, specifically for tourists. So we paid them a visit. And because the area is so remote, there are many, many monasteries. Yeah, cheap land, nobody else wants to go there. There's not even pilgrims.
Chuka! Oh! Wow. Okay, that's it, Jeremy.
You can see it, look to go wet.
Bye-bye.
That was our return journey,
Oh, yeah.
2 days later.
Uh-huh.
I was saying at the time, is there an alternative? They said, no, we've got to go back the way we came, which was a disappointment. I was looking forward to a nice easy route. Can't chance of that. Yeah, low clouds in the mountains, and that was actually on our way out of Echuca. That should be a video. But unfortunately, as it won't play, that's the sort of material we were riding on a lot of the time. Just a good layer of mud. Have another one.
Is that on top of the tarmac?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, may not be.
Okay.
There's no guarantee what's underneath it. In fact, a number of times I've hit something on the way along the roads. You just suddenly there's a rock that doesn't give. And I had a number of experiences with getting to the end of what I can manage, and so you end up thinking, oh no, it's gonna go, and if you can just stop in time enough to hold it before you go splat. Well, I didn't manage that too often. In fact, actually, I only fell off, if you can call it a fall off, it's more like the bike slides away and I'm sort of stuck there with the bike on the floor and spread across it. How do I get out? My hips aren't as flexible as they used to be. And the odd one where you actually get sort of to the bottom. Actually, if I hang on to this anymore, I'm going to get pinned underneath the bike, so you leap off of it and do a barrel roll, which is where all the muck's gone. So I've had a choice of everything. But in fact, I had three occasions on the way going, and actually 2 on the way back. The second one on the way back was the finisher off for me, because I slipped over and the bike, instead of falling to the left, which was what I was controlling, it fell to the right, and when it did, I ended up in the gutter and in, how you can see, something hard. I had a nice bruise on my thigh. So I thought, right, that's it. There's a warning. If you're going to get hurt, time to stop. Because that was in the middle of a holiday. Yeah, we're halfway through. We're doing a bike ride. So if I'd fallen off and hurt myself, that would have been a complete disaster. I would have been travelling in the car, yeah, for the rest of the time, which would have been terribly pleasant. So speeds were kept down to actually preserve, my integrity. Yeah, I couldn't get injured. basically. Ah, you like this? They check the big rocks down here. I'm knackered. That's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Now we've been up since 6 to make the journey, and we'd actually just missed the rock blasting which caused the landslide. Road improvements. That was the first one that day. We actually got to the next one just as they closed the road at 2 o'clock. Wouldn't let us through. So we went back up to what they call hotels, but really it was a cafe. Just got some food and then had a fire where you could get warm. And spent the next 2 hours waiting for one, the rain to stop, and two, the road to open. So wasting 3.5 hours of my riding day was no good. So by 5 o'clock I'd waved the white flag and jumped into a car then. Yeah, but to give you an idea, sort of the parked up for lunch. Right.
So Jerry, have they got a trailer or does somebody ride your bike?
No, someone had to ride me bike. Borrowed me helmet. So yeah, we're still up in the clouds. So you frequently you could leave the clouds behind and you come into sunshine. Conversely, you could go the other way. You be in rain and then come out of it as you went drop lower. There was no guarantee of anything. Right, returning to the car. It's not a terribly good movie, but it will show some of the things that I've been talking about. Nice slurry to drive through. I thought I'd give some atmosphere by holding the phone out the door window.
I can't help but think the guy on the V-scroll was probably like alright in this versus some of the other bikes, right?
Well, I was lightweight, you know, what was it, 160 kilogram bike.
Oh yeah.
And nice and light, I could keep
Yeah.
my feet on the ground. I did try the yellow Suzuki that was, you know, it was so tall, I tried to get my foot over the saddle. So you'd end up with sort of struggling on roads like this, trying to find, shall we say, the least slippery parts. I wouldn't say the most slippery, but the least slippery. And then all of a sudden you come to some lovely tarmac. What I talked over was that we went across a Bailey Bridge that linked the two bits of nice, or shall we say, blasted road, and it was covered in mud and water. So you went through it, that's what the car was touching. If you noticed there was a bridge there, we went across. That is normal. All of the bridges to link the bits, there are lots of them. And of course you go around that and have to do a 90-degree bend, right, and then go across the bridge and then another 90-degree bend. But at the beginning of the end of the bridge were potholes, mud, water. You didn't know what was there most of the time, so you had to sort of go through it gingerly. Was not pleased to get to the hotel. In fact, that the weather started to break then, and we managed to dry up the gear in a couple of hours, ready for the day. And the next day was beautiful sunshine, and we got some nice little videos because it wasn't raining. Someone could get their camera out. Okay. First one, second one's me. Third one is Bishkar. Look at that. That's It's a nice view. That was the road in the background is the one we came up to get that far. I don't know how much you can hear, probably not very much. So that was nice. So we had a drone with us as well, only got used a couple of times. So that's the gang on the way back. Okay, we did arrive back about 7 o'clock in the evening, in the dark, but it was finishing up. So that was the end of a 1,000-kilometre trip. So it's 274 to Alu, right, and 184 from Alu to Machuca. And of course we did that on the way back, plus a little bit of riding around while we were there. So the times seem incredibly long. I've been all day, but then that's just the conditions of the road. So I'll go to that one in a minute because hopefully it'll still be on the back of the PC. We've got videos that it took. The second one, Travels with Florence, is actually an advert for the trip. So it's got lots of little shots of things that they did during that journey, and some of them include me. And the other thing is, you can look up a lot of it. I've got a blog. I've got a website, jerryamcm.info, and you can find the snippets of the journey on something else. Something from the museum was what I'd written while the London Motorcycle Museum was open. And I did a presentation about the London Motorcycle Museum, I reckon about 2016 or something, a long time back. It was in Ripley, I remember that. Right, now, any questions? Any more questions?
Jerry, how did you get your bike over there? Did you ship it?
No, I borrowed one. It was something that basically they asked what bike I could ride. I had the opportunity of a Suzuki trail bike 250, a Ducati 490. I could have had a Triumph Scrambler. But that was all the bikes. They were all of Chinmoy's mates and my mates. You just borrow the bike, just like that.
And did you plan the route yourself, or was it as a group?
Well, you see, Jungle Jattery is actually a travel agent. He works out of Arunachal, and he will organise anything, any excursions you want to do. He regularly has pop events over weekends. He organises, so he knows accommodation and facilities all around Arunachal. So I think when you see other things, you perhaps want to have a look at. Here it is. We'll have this one. If it will print. Show.
Can you make it full size?
I'll have a go without messing it up.
London.
We'll start again. I'll probably need some assistance. I can't see the icon to make it.
Oh, sick.
have just completed our ride to Mechuka. A huge respect to our 73-year-old rider from London who tackled muddy roads and rain just like a pro, and he just proved that age is just a number. So let's introduce him.
Okay, here is Jerry. We are just waiting for a water break. Jerry, say something about these roads.
Well, as you can see, it's almost like a slurry, which is great to ride through because it's just like you're going through water. When it gets thicker, like the big lumps, that's the tough thing. That's what breaks you apart. And that's what causes you to have little mishaps. Yeah.
So this is the condition of his bike.
Well, I like you this.
So your condition. These are his gloves full of mud.
All because I've been through the deep water too quickly. Yeah. Right, off to my bike, my group. Oh, yeah. I'll try to stay a reasonable distance back. Yeah. Because what I tend to find is that if I get good traction, I just keep going. But the problem being that if I'm too close, I can't see where the mud is. So I have to stop and
So let's go. So he is 73 years old and doing Mechuka with us, riding way along from Dibrugarh, Moran. So that's the dedication we need.
Hello everyone, this is Vikas, aka Traveling Info from.
Right, there's something there. Last one, I'm sorry. Some horrible music, but you can see that there's a lot of things that I feature. If I get out of the way. This is the bit I didn't get to write. Or the helicopter, it's a bank. Did you see it? The last little bit was a 6-day tour, right, for 70 quid. You just got to get which costs you about £1,500 with all the flights, because you have to take a flight to Delhi and then another flight from Delhi to Dibrugarh. And my nephew lives about half an hour from Dibrugarh, so it's not a problem being collected from the airport. It's just the fact that you've got so Delhi's 9 hours, and then it's another 3.5 hours to get to Dibrugarh, which is a great shame. You spend half your time going, but for it was 6 days and covered 1,000 kilometers, which. I'm very glad they didn't tell me what I was in for, because I wouldn't have done it. But I did, and I ended up doing TV interviews because of that, being the oldest person to ever have done that trip on a motorcycle. Good fun.
So did you say 70 quid?
Yeah. But in fact, it's not even that. It's 6,999 rupees.
And that's like accommodation,
Yeah.
motorcycle hire, and
Yeah.
absolute
Well,
you the booking.
I've looked at the cost of the homestay, right, and it's actually only £16 a night, and that includes food. Don't get much meat, but for that price, and you're in India, yeah, that's what you get. But I think.
Question, apart from the waterproofs, that it seems like you should have taken something maybe a little bit more robust, what else do you think you should have taken, or not taken?
Well, adventure boots.
Okay.
Because on day 4, what was it? It would be day 5. Coming back, I couldn't do my zips up on my boots because the very fine mud had just dried in there, and it took me a couple more days to actually get the mud out of the zip. So definitely adventure boots if you go into muddy areas. Of course, I used the same boots when I went to Ladakh and had no problems at all because we weren't riding through mud. We were having what was meltwater silt. So you had all the ground up silt from glaciers and stuff being left on the roads, which is really fine powder, just as fine as anything. But it was because we went at the time of year where it was dry, actually the driest time of the year in Ladakh, then we didn't have any mud to deal with because there was so much minerals, there wasn't any soil, there was an old mountain. So when you come down lower, you'll end up with more mud. Any more questions?
You showed us the store with the bottles of petrol.
Yes.
Could you get premium petrol?
You'll get what they got.
Premium.
Well, it will be free.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, there's on this particular website. There's lots of other bits and pieces about doing treks and if you want to do mountain climbing, and he's not restricted just to Arunachal Pradesh. He actually does the stuff that I did in Ladakh, but I'd use another guy for that. A guy called Ravi, who runs his own business, and spent a long time talking to him, and he's basically he'll do what you want, but I would not camp at that altitude. So I've had in hotels in Leh and Manali. They're about 8,000 feet, or yes, about 8,000 feet, and it still gets cold at night. One campsite was at 14,000 feet, and it was so cold, the heated water pipes froze. I've got lots of stories about that. But be aware that if you're going off-road and extreme things, make sure you've got some accommodation that supports you. And you should really have a support car.
Was the support car across the whole group, or was
Yeah.
it something so everybody could make use of it?
Yes, I knew about that in Ladakh, having a support car, because you had your suitcase, you've got warm, dry gear. If you've got to carry it with you on your bike, you don't ever have warm, dry gear unless it's warm and dry. So having a support car, you can keep your gear warm and dry, and you've got something nice and clean and fresh to change into each day. And I appreciated that. But the car, we paid for it. They asked me if we wanted a car, and I said yes, because someone's got to carry the luggage. We need a support vehicle because I didn't know what challenges I would end up with. I thought it would be a nice, easy ride, and it turned out to be a real, shall we say, challenge.
It's quite an eye-opener. I wouldn't have imagined anything like that prior to seeing tonight?
Well, Louise obviously thought it was interesting. But there's, I've got, yeah. I didn't have a, this was a starting point we have. I couldn't show you this on the thing because it was this. I've got 5 videos. There's a couple of minutes just to cover them. As you can tell, I wasn't quite used to the bike yet. I stalled it twice just getting out the drive, but I realised that actually it was because I just needed a little bit of adjustment. So the clutch bit a little bit later.
What's your regular ride here? What do you normally ride?
Well, at the moment I'm on a Kawasaki ER600, and I've got a Buell that's waiting to be fixed, which I haven't ridden much for the last year because it's been sick. So you can see there's not a lot of traffic about.
How did you prepare for the sort of mechanical breakdown issues?
Well, my nephew runs a garage, so it was all in his hands. What amazed me is I needed new rear brake pads while I was up there, and he actually found them in Uchaka. So a Husqvarna bike spares. Now, I find it amazing that sort of thing is available. He broke apart in his car, just giving you some idea of the range. Doing his slide doesn't do it justice. But I'm amazed how the road tyres are still working now.
Did you get any punctures, Jerry?
No, not a puncture. I thought I might get a few on the ground since some of the terrain was a little bit rocky.
Was that a camera on your helmet?
No, it was attached to the bike.
Oh, camera on the bike. Okay.
Yeah. So one of the last shots of the you saw a camera with a broken bracket. That the bracket just had enough. By on our way back, yeah, I was turning onto the main road, and all of a sudden he said. Unfortunately, I couldn't get back to it before the tuk-tuk ran over it. So all the damage was the fact that it's been squashed, and of course it didn't work after that. It was giving up the ghost as time was going on, because for a 16 quid piece of kit to produce. I thought I'm not going to spend hundreds of pounds on a GoPro to attach a summer on the bike that is going to get damaged. So a cheap camera where you can look at the videos. I've got hours out of it. It's been so for that sort of money, batteries were about £3 each, so you can just pop a battery out, put another one in. Unfortunately, you have to reset the time and date every time. So it causes problems if you don't when you're trying to compile it all in the end of it. You've got it all with the same thing, same information on. And there's one slide. I think I'm trying to find this. Yeah, I know. Won't play out. It's a bit. The camera was starting to give up the ghost, so it's actually just noise and a few views, and not very interesting. And I took the best stills from it anyway, so you gotta have a look at
people in the, you know, not being very generous or either of time or of space. That's probably just because there's just literally so many people. I mean, India is just so overpopulated.
Well,
And they're probably used to, it's probably a bit like China, they're used to not having a lot of space around them, and so they don't give space. And equally, you know, money is tight, and maybe that
yeah,
one is
and
not
everyone,
generous.
every transaction, everyone has a slice of the cake, otherwise they wouldn't survive. So you literally pay for everything, albeit something quite modest. But the nice thing is if you can actually buy something, then it does everyone a bit of good.
Did you find the prices went up when they were selling to you?
Oh, definitely. If the government prices were a lot of the museums are free, right? And if you're a foreigner,
International,
yeah, you have to pay a fiver.
yeah, that's everywhere.
500 rupees for a free entry. Yeah. But actually, there's something I've been on the travels afterwards. We went to Kaziranga National Wildlife Park, and there is a motorcycle museum there that I found, and it's the same guy who was running the museum in Guwahati, but because it was an area for development, he got the cost of relocating paid by the government and new buildings to put his bikes in. So I heard that he was there and I went to see it, and I ended up being the first person to visit that museum. There was a foreigner, first ticket for a foreigner sold, and the first name in the visitors book. And I got a plaque for that. Yeah. It's pretty crummy. You can't knock it. I've got there are lots more photographs if you were interested. There we go, good. Where I can
Double click on
it's not. Ah, that's better. There we go. Treasure wheels. Along with that, when we got back to Guwahati, I appeared in a comedy to do with Bihu celebrations about how the locals take advantage of tourists. Yeah, it'll make you smile if you want to watch it. It's mostly in Assamese, but it does. There's a couple of cameo performances by me.
As the tourist.
Yeah, as a tourist. Wearing a trilby, so I look the quintessential Englishman. And I've appeared in 2 interviews because having some notoriety of doing this trip, you know, the couple of TV programs got in touch with me, did interviews with, mostly with Gita, but me as well. And if you want to have the links for those, if you go onto my blog, you can actually pick up the links for all of the films and interviews that I did. It was a bit of fun. But, I thought, why the hell do I want to talk with me? But apparently I'm interested. Who would have thought that?
So,
Jerry, you said you were riding at 14,000 feet at one point.
Yes, in the dark.
So, did you feel the effects of altitude sickness at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How did you deal with that then?
Well, it wasn't too bad at 14,000 feet, being quite cold, but by the time we got to the highest peak, I noticed it first of all around about 16,000 feet, a little bit of a headache. And apparently that's normal. Because as you're at that, your body's reacting to it, it takes you time to acclimatise. But by the time I'd actually got about 4 days later, I'd got to Cordalunga. That was nearly 18,000 feet. I managed to walk up even higher because it got steps above the pass, which goes to the highest point of where they've got the prayer penance and place of prayer. You need it once you get that high. I was thinking at the time, I think I've made it. I've got this. I rode a Royal Enfield up to one of the highest passes in India. I've then climbed up to have a better view. That's a stupid thing to do. And I didn't get a heart attack or have a stroke or anything, which is probably something that would happen. If you put your body under stress, it's going to happen.
So how did the bike cope with the altitude then?
Well, I had fuel injection, so cope with it. You didn't notice that it had any less power. Well, that was it. Only got 21 bhp from the Himalaya, being a 400cc. So it chuffed along quite happily. And you wouldn't know it vibrated so much when you revved it. You didn't want to do much more than that. You think, nuts and bolts were going to come loose. So ideally, you wanted to be in a high gear to reduce the vibration. That was compounded by the fact that the roads, when you got to the rocky bits of roads, basically there were roads where the tarmac had just been washed away. They got such extremes of temperature on those mountain roads because they're so high. If you have stupidly on the north side where you don't get any sun, it's better tarmac than on the south side. So the south side will undergo phenomenal freezing, thawing every day. So you end up with actually destroying tarmac, which makes the road quite rough. Once again, I'm amazed I did that, but we were only doing about 50 or 60 miles a day, so it's an easy thing. There was one day where the campsite where we stayed on the way out at 14,000 feet was closed, so we had to go 2 stops and arrived at about 7 o'clock at night. And the road conditions weren't bad. In fact, an example of how much you'd improved from going out was the first water feature that we struggled with, everybody did because they weren't used to it, went through in the dark like it wasn't there. So that's a progression over a week or 10 days from doing the same thing regularly. I must admit, next time I'm like a motorcycle with a lower seat height and softer suspension.
I think a lot of bikers would rather have a lower seat height because it's very difficult for men of our age to get your leg over.
Well, physically, I've had to do an awful lot of yoga to do that. I'm not going to demonstrate this evening, but you have to keep trying to keep those joints free.
Where are you going next?
Well, I've been threatened with Meghalaya, which is next door to Assam. So
So in the mountains.
yes, but they shouldn't be quite as high, and will not be by the Chinese border. So I shouldn't need to worry about restrictions.
Did you cross the borders in any, because you were quite close to a lot of other countries there, did you ever cross the border to any of the others?
No, no. The thing is with the border is basically the borders are on tops of mountains,
No, okay.
so you have to go up and over to actually get to them. You know, there's an amazing ride. There's through Bhutan where you sort of go up the mountain and basically you ride along a track on the edge of precipice to actually get from India to Bhutan, and you can carry on then into China if you want to. Also on this stupidly high narrow path. I was thinking about doing it, but having a bit of fun. But the fact that it's only open July and August, so outside of that you're going to get snow. And of course, I was thinking about next time we're in, you know, sort of in Assam and Bihu time, which is April. And now it's time to do it. Wrong time at all. So struck that one off the list. Right. Okay. I'll wave the white flag now.